Why let JavaScript developers have all the fun? If you're a Python dev and you want to easily create beautiful UIs, you should reach for ReactPy, which comes with state management, hooks, and even has its own router. But actually, how similar is it to ReactJS? Let's compare them. But before we do, make sure you hit that subscribe button. So here is a simple counter in ReactJS, and here is a counter made with ReactPy. The React code is using JSX with inline functions for events and has a useState hook to manage the state. The ReactPy app is also using a useState hook and has functions to trigger events, but it's not using JSX and it's using a components decorator. The ReactJS code is client rendered in the browser and updates are done with the virtual DOM. The ReactPy example is also client rendered in the browser thanks to PyScript, and updates here are done with a virtual DOM too. Although ReactPy does support server-side rendering with some popular Python frameworks. Okay, so far so good. Both are surprisingly similar, but here's where things start to get a bit tricky. With ReactJS, you can use the context API to share states between different components. But with ReactPy, all you can really do is pass values down as arguments into other components, which isn't ideal when things get complicated. And speaking of complicated, the non-JSX way of writing things can get verbose if you have complex components. Yes, I am aware that ReactPy has a useContext and a createContext hook, but it's not as fully formed as ReactJS. It's also missing things like suspense, error boundaries, and portals, bundlers like feat or parcel for code splitting, and the wealth of libraries and tools that React has for being around for so long. No ReactPy native or ReactPy server components. Not to mention the speed. ReactPy is super slow when running client-side only. It takes almost 4 seconds to load this counter component, whereas with ReactJS, it takes a fraction of a second. But then again, the browser wasn't designed to run Python. Now, it may sound like ReactJS is clearly the better choice, but if I'm being honest, I'm really impressed with what you can do in the browser with Python, especially with ReactPy. I mean, you can load in JavaScript components or JavaScript libraries, including React, and use a bunch of HTML attributes. And all of this works in a Jupyter notebook, which in my opinion is the biggest selling point. So if you're a Python developer looking to build simple reactive UIs, seriously, go check out ReactPy. But if you want to build something a bit more complicated, as tempting as it seems to try and make everything work with Python, I think you're better off coming to the dark side and embracing JavaScript.